One of the topic of conversations over the last couple of weeks has been what does a strength and conditioning look like in the build up to a race? So in those kind of 1 to 2 weeks of taper, potentially when you're kind of winding down before for a major event. We've got a couple of our guys who have already raced a number of races already this year, so this has already been they've already been working through this kind of framework. We've got a number of other guys obviously building towards kind of spring summer events here in the Northern Hemisphere. A lot of our Southern Hemisphere guys and girls have obviously been racing across their summers. But what does it actually look like? And taper, I think we've discussed this before on the podcast, and it's very much individual to the person, to yourself, to your level of experience, to your level of conditioning. The more conditioned you are, the stronger you are, the fitter you are, potentially the less of a taper you may need to go through. Your body is potentially more finely tuned. However, there's an argument to say that actually your block of training would have been more intense. You would have been probably potentially working at higher volumes, high intensities. So again, you're still going to benefit. You'll need to have that taper. And from my point of view, I think everyone needs some form of week or a number of days before leading into an event where you are certainly backing off, because you've got to allow your body to to heal, to repair, to recover, to replenish. We I think we are all educated enough and informed enough to know that we are breaking down muscle tissue. We are kind of tearing into those glycogen stores when we're training, and we're constantly battling to make sure that those are being topped up. But when it comes to an event, guys, we've got to make sure that, if we're looking to peak and get to, even if it's just a test, for instance, and you really want to perform well in that test, you've got a big FTP test coming up, or you've got a bit of a run time trial coming up. It would make sense for you to give your body the opportunity to recover, to be in the best shape possible for that. And I think that eludes a lot of people. They kind of they want to take it seriously, but they don't. Their behavior isn't taking it seriously, because if you're still just training high volumes and high intensities all the way up until that day, there's no way you're going to be in the right state of mind or physical state of place to actually be able to perform at your best. So a taper is essential. It's just dependent on the individual, as I said, that what they need, and it's something that you get better at with experience. Sometimes there's forced learning involved, where I've had people who've actually got sick in the last couple of weeks because they've been training so hard and so well and so consistently that they've been riding a fine line in those last few weeks of their training block, and unfortunately they've picked up sickness from their kids, from work, or from wherever, from the commute, etc., and they've had this forced recovery. But lo and behold, come the day, a lot of anxiety because they haven't trained properly in the last 2 weeks because of sickness. But on the day, they've absolutely kicked ass, because they literally have been, they've been fully recovered. They've been, this forced recovery has actually forced them to replenish more so than they ever would have. And on the day, they came out of the blocks and to say PB, but they performed above expectations. So yeah, it's a curious thing, but I think what eludes a lot of people is, what does this taper look like? And again, it's going to be individual. Like, some people will respond better off a 1 week of deload. Some people will respond better off 2 weeks. I think it's dependent on the volume, the intensity, the magnitude of those kind of peak efforts. So what does your race entail? Is it a multi-day event? Is it a race that you're going to be? Is it something that you consider as an A race, or potentially maybe not? You're just looking to train through it, and then potentially you don't need a taper. But in terms of strength and conditioning, what are we looking to? What should that look like, guys? It should carry you all the way through this week. The principles of your taper should mirror that of your sport. So in terms of your sport training, so apologies. You want to be making sure that you're reducing the volume and intensity of your strength and conditioning efforts. So if you're training 2 to 3 times a week within the kind of the frequency of in your timetable, so you want to make sure that those efforts your efforts within those training sessions are reduced. So definitely reducing the weight that you're moving, definitely reducing the overall volume. So potentially dropping at least a set, and probably the reps within those. So going from 5 times 5 or 5 times 8 reps to suddenly dropping it down to 3 times 8, 3 times 5 to 8 reps. Reducing it. But what we want to understand, though, is the intent needs to be there. So a lot of the exercises that you'll have in your S&C program are there for a reason, or they should be there for a reason. Your S&C there is, as always, guys, your strength and conditioning work is there to bring balance to your body. Okay, if you are a cyclist, swimmer, runner, you're someone who is doing a lot of work in one dimension. In one dimension, then you're certainly going to be making sure that we're bringing strength and conditioning to these other muscle groups, and that's going to be dependent on you and what you've been struggling with in the past or what you are aware of. So for a lot of people, it's posterior chain strength. For a lot of people, it's their ability to extend through the hips. It's their ability to load and their plyometric power, their power in their legs, and their ability to kind of to tolerate the load through their legs. So a lot of people we work with have come back from an injury, and they're now into consistent training. So within their S&C work, they've been working very hard on their landing mechanics, working very hard on their single leg strength, working hard on their posterior chain strength. So those areas we still want to be working. However, the volume and intensity is certainly going to be dropped. It's essential. What's interesting when it comes to a taper, and one of the main reasons why people struggle to get to work, to actually complete, to actually avoid scratching that itch, and actually are able to mentally strong enough to actually reduce their volume and do less in those weeks leading up to a race, is that anxiety that comes with not ticking those boxes. A lot of people struggle to reduce those volumes, or they feel that they have to complete what is said on the program. If you've got these longer efforts and you're mentally used to going out the door and doing 45 minutes, an hour of work, and then you're suddenly being told that you only need to do 30 minutes or not at all, that can leave a lot of anxiety. It can leave an empty space which people feel that they need to fill. This is actually where your strength and conditioning work can come in during this week, because it's a great way of kind of maintaining this state of readiness and maintaining this level of sharpness within the body, but it also fills that void. When you have, if you don't have strength and conditioning in your lifestyle, and then you're suddenly being told that you need to reduce your run, bike, swim, you suddenly haven't got a lot to look at in your week. And a lot of people need some form of intensity where they feel like they need to put some type of stress or some work into their body. Strength and conditioning is a great way. It's a controlled way. It's a measured way of dialing in and keeping your body sharp and in a state of readiness. And I really like the way that it's defined, because essentially what you need psychologically in those weeks leading up to a race is to know that you are ready to, you are in a good place. You are ready to perform on the day. It does take a little bit of support and a little bit of kind of accountability to kind of keep reinforcing the fact that you are going through a taper for a reason. You are, to understand that your body is repairing during this point and replenishing at this point. And so you do need some accountability on your nutrition and your fueling, making sure that you're not restricting through this period of time. You're actually doing the opposite. You're ensuring that you're fueling adequately enough, and potentially more so during that week, to make sure that you are fully ready to go on the day. That often takes a bit of accountability, but in terms of your S&C, it allows you to step into that gym environment or that training environment and put some quality work into your body. Now, again, as I said, the volume and intensity needs to be measured. It certainly needs to be reduced. But essentially what we're trying to do is, in those weeks leading up to a race, as your body's recovering, we want to make sure that it's ticking over nicely. If you have had anxiety, or you've been off, you've had a long layoff before this training block due to an injury, you want to make sure that going into this new race, this new event, your body is ready to rock and roll. And you want those key areas of weakness. And for a lot of people, it's that kind of knee and below. They've had some form of tendinopathy, plantar fascial, kind of Achilles, calf, typical stress injury. And so what we're looking to do within your S&C work is to reinforce that confidence. We want to see you going through the motions of some lower body strength work, doing some stability work, single leg work, some low level plyometric work, because really not only are we trying to keep those key muscle groups activated and keeping those basic biomechanics on point, we want to give you confidence. Yep, you're good, ready to rock and roll. You're just keeping your body acclimatized to the load and stress. So whereas if someone backs completely off and then you suddenly expect it to perform on the day, when if there's been a lull, if you're suddenly expecting it to perform in a peak state and you haven't done much in the days leading up to it, essentially you're shocking the system. And so what we're looking to do, obviously, with quality warm-up, quality mobility work and band work and single leg work, we're trying to actually make sure that your body is staying conditioned, staying acclimatized. So it really is making sure that you are firing all cylinders. And again, this taper, the exercises that we include within a taper, within your S&C work, potentially might be adjusted. Certainly will be adjusted for most people that we work with, because we want to obviously reduce that volume intensity. But we may actually bring in a few other key exercises that we've done previously into that week, just to make sure that they're kind of we are ticking all the right boxes. So a couple of key exercises, I just want to give you a little bit of a run through as to kind of what that program could look like, what your taper program could look like. So I think that'd be really beneficial. First of all, guys, I think having a well-known dynamic warm-up routine is going to be essential, something that you have been leaning into the whole way through your training block. And guys, if you haven't got one of these, like if you haven't got a series of exercises that you can do thoughtlessly, when you're half asleep, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, a series of dynamic mobility warm-up exercises that you can just be going through that are kind of opening up your lower back, opening up your hips, working on the inside of your groin, your adductors, working on your upper thoracic, like all these key areas that are just going to be getting congested, tight, and you're going to be struggling with, just on a day-to-day basis anyway. You want to have those exercises just literally, you want to have brainwashed yourself into knowing what those exercises are, and in a nice possible way, we make sure of that. Like, we had our recent live event, and I could call out across the room of 20 of our clients 5-6 key exercises, and everyone was just straight away moving into those movements, because it's been well drilled. And when it comes to your taper, when it comes to your training in general, you want to be well drilled, well rehearsed, so that you can just have this check-in with yourself. You can have these movements that you just know your body responds well to. So first and foremost, within the taper, you want to be making sure that you're kind of doing some basic mobility work on probably every other day, at least an alternate day kind of routine. So first and foremost, having a quality dynamic warm-up routine with 3 to 5 key mobility exercises that are targeting those key areas I just said. So hips, shoulders, working into the ankle range of motion, getting into the inside of your groin, upper thoracic, so upper back, getting some quality mobility into those areas. One drill I would really want you guys doing is the squat mobility drill. If you don't know which one that is, I'll try and drop it into the notes, but certainly just head over to our YouTube channel and check that out. So squat mobility drill, it's simply dropping into a squat but holding on to an upright, a fixed point, and just using that as a bit of a counterbalance. Really basic stuff, guys, but bringing quality range of motion, bringing some weighted mobility, so just using your own body weight to kind of mobilize those key joints, which we're probably going to be, we just want to stay nice and mobile: ankle, knee, hip, upper thoracic. And you're just working on that for 20-30 seconds for a couple of sets. Absolutely key. Band work needs to be there. Like, if you guys aren't doing much resistance band work, like that, it should be a staple within your S&C work. It should be a staple within your taper work. Like, one of the basic kind of kit that we get our guys to all go away with, or go, when they travel, when they're going to an event, is taking a couple of their mini resistance bands and a long resistance band, like as a minimum. Just chuck that in your kit bag. And we're looking at kind of loading the hips. We're getting those basic mechanics going. So the band, like lightweight resistance band work, getting those banded lateral walks going, getting those banded knee drives going, with a long resistance band, probably getting those runner banded knee drives going, where we're kind of stabilizing on one leg and driving that knee through. Guys, message me on social media or just drop an email to us, and if you want this, and I can send this out. I'll put this together, and I think I might drop this into our subscriber email list, because I think this would be quite a useful run through. But yeah, going into this band work, you want just a series of exercises that you're just going to be setting your body up and just going through those movements and going through those motions. So really working on that hip extension, working on loading your hips, forcing you to stabilize through the leg. And a couple of those banded exercises are fantastic at loading the glutes, priming the posterior chain. But also with the banded running knee drives and things, they are fantastic at forcing you to stabilize on one leg and really opening up through that hip extension on one leg. So really, really important. Single leg work is an absolute primary focus within your S&C work on that taper week. again, low resistance work, but it needs to be kind of following that kind of logic where you're loading that single leg. Like we all have those asymmetries. We all are kind of more dominant one side, especially when we compete. We start to, we start to fatigue, hit the thresholds. There's always going to be those areas that we kind of feel a bit more exposed. So single leg work, making sure you're loading well. So split squat, single leg squat, single leg hamstring bridge, getting a couple of sets of those in at least once or twice within that taper week leading into an event. Just again, building that confidence, knowing that we're loading and lighting up those key muscle groups, but also you're just putting some quality blood flow and good range of motion through the joints, which is absolutely key. Lateral box step up, real simple one. You're in a hotel room, you're in an Airbnb, before an event, like lateral box step up or lateral chair step up. Great way of just working on that kind of hip extension, driving through that leg up into that high kind of step up position, controlling the descent. Just some really simple, like, home-based strength exercises, but fantastic at, what you're looking at there, guys, is we're looking at the biomechanics of those movements. You're loading the body really well. You're putting that localized force through the hip, through the knee, through the ankle. You're working on your good body shape. So you're working on those good body positions. So if when we don't have as much load or intensity, what we want to be thinking about is position. So a lot of these exercises that we're talking about here we are kind of really dialing in on the positions of your exercises. How well can you hold a certain position? What does a great running position look like? Head up, chest up, kind of nice extended position, tall spine, open hips, kind of holding those high knee positions, you bring those arms into play. Like, utilize all of those positions. Think about those coaching cues when you're doing these exercises, because you're just organizing your body, and you want that level of organization going into your race day or into your event day, right? Plyometrics, definitely want to bring in some of that work in. So some of the drills that you've hopefully been doing throughout the course of your S&C program, you want to have that sharpness, that you want to have put that type of power work into your legs. You want your Achilles, your calves, your hamstrings to be able to tolerate that type of load and that impact. You want your legs ready to, you want to be ready to apply speed and explosiveness to your legs. Even if you are doing a long distance, you still want that level of readiness in your legs. So low level plyometrics, jump landings, lateral hops. Guys, these things should be your absolute bread and butter in your S&C programming. But those will be the key ones that I want you having. A little bit of core work just to set yourself up. If you've had, a couple of our guys have had lower back issues and leading into it, like before starting their S&C programming. So banded dead bugs would be a fantastic one. Some banded wood chops or banded pale-off presses. Absolutely fantastic at applying load and forcing you to stabilize through your core, which is essentially what we're looking for. And then we obviously, with the rotation or the extension flexion kind of within the specific exercise that we choose, it's going to be dependent on the individual. But those are the fantastic exercises that you can be including within your taper week, that we can create a program that actually is tailored to you. And that's something that you lean into every time you come into a taper week. You've got this well-rehearsed, well-drilled taper kind of S&C program that is definitely downgraded in terms of the intensity and volume, but it's hitting all the right points. It's giving you that confidence in your own body. It's kind of, as I said, it's giving you this, it's keeping you in this state of readiness. It's kind of keeping you sharp. It's keeping you engaged, and all the other buzzwords like keeping you activated and primed in those key muscle groups. But it's true, you do some of that band work and you do some of this single leg work, you're going to be walking around, you're going to be standing a bit taller, and you're going to be walking a little bit more, you're going to feel your glutes and feel your hamstrings, which, come on, like, if you're going into an event, you want to know that you are firing or ready to go. You're ready to unleash, and you want to be knowing that you're kind of strong in all those key muscle groups. So, yeah, guys, that is where I want you to be thinking. That's where I want you to be at. Frequency, you're doing this for a couple of sessions a week. Certainly looking to do this for a couple of sessions a week. You are probably at least a couple of days out. You're doing nothing but the mobility work and a bit of the band work. But in the couple of days leading up to it, in that first or second week, you should be discussing this with your coach. We certainly, as I said, base our taper on the athlete and their level of experience. But guys, hopefully that's useful. That again, this is all a taper kind of programming is always going to be based upon the individual, what they're confident, where their level of confidence is, where their level of conditioning is, where their level of fatigue is right now. They may, so we always want to tailor that to the individual. But some key points to take away, some key things to consider there. Some of those key exercises that I mentioned. As I said, I'll put this together as a little short kind of little program that I'll put out to the subscriber list, I think, because I think that'd be really useful. And guys, if you want to get in contact, let me know. We can run through, I'm happy to run through that with you. But guys, as always, have a great week of training. And any questions that you have around any of your S&C work, get in contact, and we look forward to speaking with you.